we had a few picture breakups through that little section. I do apologize about the intentions, but it's still, at least we get to explore this back end area lots more than what we used to anyway, so it's at least something. But I do apologize about the little breakup that we have had. Right, now from here, where am I going to go? I think Chitwa Dam. Let's go check up on Boo and the little baby crocs. I think that's where we check. Let's go on that side of the world. Nothing much else happening behind here. Right, I believe my signal is being a bit on the finicky side today, which is a bit of a worry. I don't know why it is like that, but let's quickly jump across to Noel before we do drop too much signal, and we'll see you all in a little bit.
Hello everybody, welcome back. We had a brilliant Mvula sighting, and now we're just busy driving around, see what else we can find. It's a wonderful, warm, slightly breezy afternoon. We've just come across this mud wallow, and I just want to sit and just chat about it a little bit. A mud wallow of this size takes roughly about 7 years to build, sometimes up to 10 years, sometimes a little bit longer. So basically what happens, there's a slight indent in the ground. It fills up with a little bit of water, which makes mud, and something like a warthog will come and roll in it, and then other warthogs, and then it gets a little bit bigger. And then buffalo will come, and elephants will come, and other species that need the mud to help cool them down. And then slowly over time, season after season, this is what happens. So it's dry now, but when we start getting our first rains, which when I first started guiding, our first rains were in the beginning of October. Now we usually start only getting our first rains beginning of January, but I'm really hoping our first proper rains are going to happen when sort of mid-November. That would be beautiful. Get our water table back up from last year's drought. And then this will fill up again, and again it'll become a really great place for buffalo, for rhino, for warthog, and for elephant. So let's carry on driving. Let's see what we can find. All right, now I have a very dear friend who is going to be taking an assessment at the end of this week. It is with track and sign. So I know we get a lot of people asking, what do we do outside of our time as being presenters, or even if we're just guiding outside of being a guide. And a lot of us do activities to help build us to be better guides and for better qualifications. So with the tracking and the following of animals, you get track and sign, which is the individual track you must ID, and then trailing, which is following an actual trail, say from that leopard and Mvula that we saw. And there's a thing called Cyber Tracker that we all use, and we get graded on it. And when you get up to the seniors, it means you've gotten 100% on an evaluation. You've now been invited. It's a really big deal. It's a huge concept, and it's very tough. So I promised him we would do a little bit of track and sign. So tracks, we all know what tracks are. So here we've actually got a beautiful, beautiful array of tracks. Okay, so what you're gonna see here, I don't know if everyone can have a guess. Say when, am I in the way? The car is in the way. Hold on, let me back up just a little bit. I parked too close. I'm still getting used to our camera ops. All right, Jandre, let me know. How is that? Still too close? Okay, going back a little bit more. How's that? Yep. Okay, so now I'm just gonna unplug for a minute and go over there. So what we're seeing here is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 toes and 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back. Viewers, I don't know if you can maybe let me know what animal that we would find in the African bush would give us 3 lobes at the back and 4 toes, no claws showing. And while you all are thinking about that, hashtag Safari Live, YouTube chat, we can go on to what would be a sign. So that's going to be a track. This would be a sign. So it's a very old sign, but this is what happens with elephants. They tear off the branches, they put it in their mouth, they roll it between their molars, they take the bark off and they throw it away. So these are the types of questions that you'll get on an assessment. So this question that I just picked up here is going to be what's known as a level 1 question. It's very obvious what it is. This one, we'll go back. You're going to get asked several things here. you're going to get asked what species, you're going to get asked male or female, you're going to get asked which foot, so left, right, front, or back, and you'll probably be asked, possibly they might even get sneaky and just give you a toe or two. Okay, I'm going to plug back in. You can have a look. All right, Megs, I'm back with you. And there's also some impala tracks we have here. Justin and Rain, you guessed leopard, well done. So you have female leopard, thank you very much. So yeah, 3 lobes at the back, 4 toes, and a very precise track. So lions will do the same, cheetah will do the same, but they'll show claws. And then hyenas obviously have the 2 lobes and they show their claws all the time as well. So this little female there, and that was her. It was looking like her front right. I actually didn't look close enough, sorry about that. Then you'll get the impala tracks, you also get toad tracks, you get birding tracks, but we'll carry on down the road and see if we can find anything else interesting to spot and quiz. All right, we're gonna head back over to Tristan, see what else is happening on the other side of Djuma, as we carry on looking for good questions for my friend to have an eye as he watches the show with us.
Well, we're sitting on Chitwa at the moment behind the dam wall, and we're watching our little plover chick, which I think is high time we give our little plover chick a little name so that we've got something to refer to it as, because I keep calling it the plover chick and it's done so well to survive the last few days. So maybe if you guys want some suggestions, hashtag Safari Live. We also didn't wrap up our names for our crocodile babies too, so we need to give them a little bit. But this little one is full of beans today. It's running around all over the place. It was having a cuddle with mom just now, and now it's running into this little thicket, and I wonder if it's going to go into the big jungle that is that grassy little area. Off it goes. There's mom keeping a close eye on it, or dad, one of the two of them. So it's always nice to see them. Now hopefully the little chick will come back towards the adults and just get in under the wing like it was just now. They were right in front of the car for a long time. They sat here with us and they were chirping away, and the little one was grooming mom, and it was just very cute to watch the two of them kind of interact with one another. But they have gone towards the grassy area, which is a good thing in a way, because that grassy section is far more protected for this little chick and where it can hide. So I don't want to disturb them any further, but super cute when we get to see these little ones. I love this little chick. It's so cute, man. And the fact that we've watched this whole process kind of unfold has been absolutely wonderful. So glad to see it. It's always good just to catch up with these little guys and have a little look and see what's going on. Now earlier I was talking about a story about the warthogs, which I'll wrap up just now. Now Katniss, you say Perry the plover. Actually quite like that. Maybe we can call it Perry the plover. Yeah, has a nice ring to it. So Perry it shall be. Yes, Senzo? Do you vote yes?
Yeah, I'm voting for yes.
Senzo is voting yes. So sorry Megan, if you can repeat what Monique voted for, what she want. Megan, there we go. Peppy the plover. I'm not sure. What about Pepper plover? Well, no, that doesn't work either. Ah, I like that one. I think that's my favorite one. Christine, you say Pebbles for the chick. I also like it. Megan likes it. Senzo likes it. I think Pebbles it is. So Pebbles the plover is its new name, and that's what our little one is going to be called. I really like that little plover chick. It's super cute. Now we're up at Chitwa Dam onto the wall itself just to have a little look around. It's always beautiful up the side of life. There's lots of hippos still cruising around. Oh, there's Boo. Hello, Boo. Welcome. How are you doing? There's a tiny little hippo on the back of its mom. You are super cute. What are you doing on top of mom again? Don't you love how it just rides mom? It's like a surfboard. It's just like, mom, you will stay there and I'm going to just sit on your back. I'm not interested in doing this swimming nonsense or this walking nonsense. It's far more fun just to sit on your back and walk around, except when mom moves, because obviously when mom moves, she loses balance a little bit, or he loses balance. I have no idea whether it's a male or a female, but it ends up losing balance and falling off. So it's nice to see that it's worked out a way to be able to sit in this big dam and stay nice and safe and hang around on the edge. So very cool. I always like seeing this little hippo. It's such a special thing, and it will always have a special place because such an amazing sighting that we had between the hippo itself and obviously the Hosanna action that we had and all of those kind of things together. So very cool to see little Boo the hippo. I really do enjoy Chitwa Dam at this time of the day. It's quiet, there's very little that goes on. Often it's the best time to be here because everybody else goes rushing off to other places, and it leaves it actually all open to yourself, so you don't actually have to worry too much. There is a vehicle here today, but generally it's very quiet. There's just the sounds of the hippos and sounds of the birds, and it's a wonderful place to spend the afternoon. So super happy to be here. Now the hippo numbers in this dam seem to be actually growing rather than getting less, and the reason why I say getting less is because normally at this time of the year you'll find a number of these hippos actually move out. They end up going to other places in order to try and establish themselves, particularly things like young males. They're going to try and get into different areas and try and find places that they can spend time, that they don't have to compete with the big guys. But it's still so dry that there really isn't that many places for these guys to go. So the hippo numbers in Chitwa Dam are still very healthy. It seems though they kind of reach a mass. The most hippos I've ever seen in here is about 20 odd, and it's never really gotten more than that. And we're about at that sort of amount now. You can see they kind of stretched all the way through the dam, so I don't think we're going to get a situation where many more hippos will be around. I think it's going to be a case where this is kind of the upper limit, and as summer comes, so they're going to distribute out, and we're not going to have as many hippos again. Oh, there goes an eagle. Look, it looks like a Wahlberg's eagle that's flying off, and that's why the grey go-away birds started alarm calling. I was actually looking just to see if there was maybe something like a leopard walking around behind me, but there goes a Wahlberg's eagle that's flying over, and it's causing all the other birds to alarm call. And look at how beautiful that eagle is in the light. Now the reason I know it's in Wahlberg's, look at that tail shape. It's just indicative of a Wahlberg's eagle. Long rectangular tail. Is no one else really that has a tail that shape. And I also know that they have a nest just behind the dam wall here, and so that's why it's easy to see. But it's amazing to watch the actions of all the birds. A lot of the birds immediately started to seek shelter. Some of them even went into trees, and some of them went under trees. It was amazing to watch everybody just fly off of the open sections and try and get themselves hidden. Now it seems as though there's another bird of prey. I don't know if it's a Wahlberg's eagle just up to the left from that particular Wahlberg. So there's actually two of them together there now. They both look like Wahlbergs now that I can see the tail area of the other one, which is very cool. So it's not just the one, there's actually two of them together. There's one very close and one a lot higher up, and in amongst them is a few swifts and swallows as well. So really, really cool to see. Can you imagine just driving, well, I mean, flying around like that over a dam like this? It must be just so beautiful. I suppose we do imagine, and we know what it looks like, given that the drone has been able to go over places like this and get that bird's eye view, so to speak. And so we do get that same kind of feeling. But well done, Sens, that's very cool. And the light on that Wahlberg's eagle is just phenomenally good. It's beautiful light that it's got on there. It's that time of the day. And to the soundtrack of the hippos as well. Very nice. Now the rest of our hippos have all kind of started to wake up a little bit. So as soon as you get one snorting like that, it often gets all the others to poke their heads out just to see who's talking and what's going on and why are they all talking, and then you'll find they kind of go under again. And so it's nice to hear when they kind of making a bit of noise, and then you see them kind of all popping up. And of course the sound itself is just synonymous with Africa. As soon as you hear that snorting, grunting sound, you just know that you're in somewhere in Africa, and you're in one of Africa's beautiful spots, because obviously these guys spend a lot of time in water. Now earlier I was talking about our warthogs on the airstrip, and I was telling you that I always used to giggle at the warthogs on the airstrip, and the reason why I used to giggle at them is because the poor warthogs used to feed on the edge of the airstrip, and there's this plant called the devil thorn. So I found some of it while I was at the airstrip itself. This is what it looks like. It's just a bit of ground cover that kind of hangs around on the ground. It grows very much like this, and lots of it. It'll kind of clump out from a central point, and then you'll find that it'll get a beautiful little purple flower onto it. Now it's called a devil thorn because it does have a seed pod that has two horns on it. I couldn't find a seed pod. I walked all over the place there trying to find them. It's not the right time of year for seed pods, unfortunately. The seed pods generally are here in the summer months, as you would expect, and so I didn't find any. But the devil thorn name comes from the thorn itself. Like I say, it's got the two little horns on it. And I laugh at the warthogs because they feed off that area, and then every now and then you'll see them kind of get a fright, and it's normally because they've either kneeled or they've stood on those thorns, and those thorns are incredibly strong and powerful, and they'll pierce up into the sort of hoof itself and cause a bit of an issue, or they'll pierce even the actual knee of the warthogs, and they get a kind of fright and they jump and then scream off running, and it's all because of a thorn. So I always get quite entertained by them. But this plant is really one of the most amazing plants that we get here in this reserve. Well, I always think so, and the reason why, a lot of you will know this from watching before, but some of you may not. If I take this plant, and I'm going to do it for you just for the sake of it, because why not, and I just put a bit of water on the plant itself. So if we take the plant, sorry Sens, I'll put it back there now, and we just put a bit of water on my hand. Sorry, I just want to do it on the other side so that if it leaks, that it goes out of the car, not in. And I take this and I actually rub it. So if I just scrunch it all up and I rub it for a while, eventually what's going to start happening is I'm going to start getting a very soapy sort of texture that's going to start coming. So it's going to get a bit sticky and soapy, and this is because this is a natural soap and shampoo for this area. So if you take the stuff and you rub it, it is going a little slimy. It's difficult to actually see it. I'm trying to show you, but if you look between my fingers as I open and close my fingers, you'll see that there's a slime that is developing there. So just between there, you see, as I close it, you'll see that slime. So it's difficult to show it, but there is that slime that I'm talking about. Now that slime, you can cover your body in it. It's very, very good for your skin. It has a cleaning agent basically that keeps you in good condition. Also very good for your hair. And it does get a bit sticky, but once it dries properly, it actually loses that stickiness altogether and becomes quite nice. They also use it as a natural sun cream. So this gets put on the skin itself and forms a nice layer, and it actually stops the sun from burning you. Apparently, I've never tried it myself, but that is apparently what happens with it. And the other thing that this plant was used for, it had that seed pod that I was telling you about, with that really sharp pointy sort of top to it, was actually used for committing assassinations. And you might wonder how they managed to do that, but what they would do is they would set that pod down in front of somebody's house and put it basically on the step of somebody's house, and as they would walk out, they would lace those two little points with poison. Now those two little points with the poison on them, as the person would step on it, it would go into the foot, and that would cause a situation where they would get basically poisoned by that chemical, and they would then die from it. So it was the perfect thing to use in order to try and commit an assassination, because no one would have suspected a little seed pod on their doorstep. Quite sinister, but very clever in a way as well. Right, now I'm going to just sit here a little bit longer. I'm going to go quickly check on our little baby crocs towards the southern side of the dam, see what's happening with them. And so while I do that, let's go back to Noel, who I believe is tracking and is on the trail of some sort of animal.
I hope you all enjoyed the soap with the thorns, with the devil thorns there. We have some more tracks for you. So what I want to show you first is just over here. I've got a little piece of grass just to show you this very, very round, hard track. You can see the little push up from the soil here. And then if you come with me a little bit to my left, but to Gendre's right, you're going to see the full track in this deeper soil here. So now this is an antelope track. It has two lobes with a split down the middle. All right, the direction of this track is headed this way. And what you're seeing very, very interestingly here is you've got a single track that we saw at the back. There was another single track there, coming into a single track. And then as we move farther along, you can see what's called track-on-track walking. So one track on top of the other, and then here, but it's not an entirely precise track-on-track walking. So this particular antelope species only does track-on-track sometimes. It can be easily confused with a wildebeest. This is not a wildebeest. This is looking like a female waterbuck. The reason why I say female is just the size of it. But now, if we come back here, there's another track just this side. So if you were to look at this track wrong, you might think it has 1, 2, 3 toes moving that way, something like an aardvark. Or if you look at it correctly, which is actually this way, you've got that little dip that we talked about where it's pushing. Here's the middle with the two lobes. And then this little part that you see on the side is actually the front foot. This is a kudu, and they do definite track on track all the time. So it's front foot, next foot, behind, to minimize the noise that they make. So these would be, depending on the substrate, level 2 questions in an assessment. And remember, with these sorts of things, it's all going to be different. It's all relative. Substrate, soil, how old they are, all plays into the difficulty. And for some people, what might seem like an easy question will be hard for someone else's, and it's up to the assessor to figure out how that's going to work. So what we're going to do now, after a little bit of tracking, and antelope tracks are the best because they give you huge variables. We're just going to keep driving down. There's going to be a gorgeous sunset happening in a few minutes, and yesterday was full moon. I think Tristan said it was the beaver moon. So today it's not going to be full moon, but it'll be the day just after, obviously. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of contrast there. So let's hop back in, and then I can plug back in, and then you can ask me any questions. I can hear Meg's finally. Hello, Megan. All right. Joy, that is a fabulous question. Joy is wondering, what is the difference between a ranger, a scout, and a tracker? So technically I'm a field guide. I'm not a ranger. There was debate over the name. It is interchangeable. A true ranger is someone that is out in the bush checking on things. It's actually a term that comes from the rangers in America and the national parks there. But again, we use it interchangeably in our field, but technically we're field guides, nature guides. A scout depends on what country that you work in. So for instance, I was just working up in Zambia in South Luangwa National Park. The gentleman that would go on vehicle with me sometimes at night and then on walks with some of the guides, he works for the National Parks Board, and he is someone that comes in and uses the rifle in case of scenarios, and is trained, but then also does anti-poaching work. And then a tracker, Herbert, who you guys all know Herbie, so he does our bushwalks with us. Herbie's a tracker, but Herbie's also a guide. But Herbie started out differently, but he turned into a tracker. So that's the guy, when we saw the Djuma vehicles, that sits on the bonnet, and he sees tracks, and sometimes he does it from the vehicle, and sometimes he gets off on foot and follows, and then he'll radio and say, I have this leopard here. So those very briefly, those are the differences. So usually a scout and a ranger is someone that works away from guests, and a tracker and a field guide works with guests. All in conservation, all within the reserves, but slightly different tasks. Great question. Oh, sunset. Okay. So Tristan has some crocodiles, I believe, so we're going to link back over to him and see what he has to say, and then carry on looking for some prizes for you all to view.
Yeah, I've found our little crockies, and they are sitting, just one that I can see. I think one slinked off into the water when I first arrived, and they camouflage so well that I'm trying to scan the bank to see if the rest are around, but I can't find them. Now, I know I asked for names the other day, and I remember somebody calling them Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Was that it? Was those the three names for the ducks? Yeah, I think they were. So I think those are good names for them, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That's what we'll use for our crocodiles, because they seem as though they're going to be mischievous and full of nonsense. Now, there's a bird that flew far away, unfortunately. Don't worry, Sense, you won't be able to get it, but it was a jacana. Now, jacanas are birds we haven't seen quite a while, so might try to go around and find it again just now, because our little croc is fast asleep and taking it very easy, and the babies of Chitwa are still doing just fine and going to, well, just doing perfectly well. I think that they're going to slowly grow. Obviously, we're not going to see big changes in them, but it's so wonderful to come here and be able to follow the story of all three of these little babies. So our little plover, our three crocs, and our baby hippo, all still doing absolutely fine. And I would imagine we're going to have far more babies in the form of maybe some baby weavers that are in the weaver nest. There might be some little lapwing chicks at some point, Egyptian geese youngsters. So it's all going to happen. There's going to be a lot of different things going on. Now, I don't see any sign of Mother Croc. I don't see her anywhere in this section, so maybe she's off hunting at the moment. She might be, or she's just submerged somewhere close by, but we can't see her at the moment. Remember, crocodiles are incredible, and they're able to hold their breath for up to 2 hours, generally around an hour, but up to 2 hours, and that's because they can control their breathing, and they can also control their vascular system by restricting blood flow to the extremities. It means that they don't waste oxygen to the tail and the feet when they are not moving, and that's when they're sitting on the bottom waiting for prey animals. They'll just slow their breathing rate down, their heart rate down, and that heart rate can go to as much as 2 beats per minute, which is absolutely phenomenal, and it means that they're just slowly moving that oxygen around the body enough just to keep the muscles alive effectively, and then from there and they're able to launch an attack. And so for 2 hours they can be underwater at the extreme point, generally about an hour. So she might be somewhere sitting there with some of the other little ones that are around, but still nice to see nonetheless. Right, I think let's leave our little crocs for now. We're going to head to try and see if I can get that jacana. There comes a fish eagle flying over. No, it's going the wrong way. I was hoping it was going to come towards us. It might still. It's on the other side of the dam. No, hold on, Sense. It might come back because it's not going to go into the lodge itself. So let's see. It might turn and come back again, but it was just beautiful light. No, it's obviously found a perch there somewhere. Maybe if we reverse, we'll be able to find it somewhere in this general section. Hold on, Sense. I'm just going to reverse back for you a little bit. I think maybe it must have landed in one of those trees behind us here, because it turned up towards the lodge. And I'm just trying to think what trees it could have landed in. There's not too many big trees in that general vicinity. Oh, there it's landed. It's very close to the lodge itself, which we're not going to be able to show you, which is not ideal. That's okay. We'll just try and see if we can go and find the jacana. Now, there is somebody else that's on the dam wall, so I'm just going to be careful as I'm reversing and going backwards and see if I can avoid them at all costs. It's actually a friend of mine that I used to work with at Simambili. So it's Lazarus, who works at the lodge next to Simambili called Djuma, which is the sort of shareholders camp. And so he kind of spends his time driving them around. Now, Senzo's pointing to my hat because, as you can all see, I've just spruced things up a little bit. And as Megan said, it's my vibiest version ever. And so you can see a nice kind of thing that's going on. So I've combined all three together for my final appearance, and hopefully, like I say, Scotty D appreciates this because, well, nobody else joined me. And so Taylor Mack, I want to know why you didn't join us this afternoon. You're normally one that's always game for these kind of things, yet today I'm being kind of left on my own to wear the hats and be the fool out on the bush, which is okay. I don't really care. Oof, that sun is still very bright. I was hoping that we'd have a nice sunset that I could show you, but it's still a little bit too high and a little too bright. So I'm going to head a little bit closer towards where that jacana is. Now, where the jacana is actually quite difficult. If you look in the middle of this dam, there's a little clump of vegetation, it looks like. So it looks like just kind of some of the sticks and things that have come up together. There it is. And so on that is where the jacana is sitting. The jacana is sitting on that little section there, and maybe that's why it's nesting there, is because it's so isolated. It's going to have very difficult for things like monitor lizards to head into that area and hunt them and to go after the eggs or anything like that. So it's the perfect place to sit and to take it easy. Now, I can't see it from here, but I think if we go round, we might be able to have a better view of it. If we go onto the other side of the island there, we'll be able to see into the nest itself and see the jacanas. Now, jacanas, like I say, are not something we see too often. I mean, more in the summer months, when things are a little bit more sort of damp and wet, and so I'm sure we'll find them at that stage, but hopefully we can show you this one because it's been a while. Now, while I kind of talk about birds and try and find this bird, I believe Noelle has got a bird of her own, much larger and in a beautiful tree.
Welcome back, everybody. We do have quite a large and beautiful bird. Thank you, Tristan, very much. I hope you find yours as well. Here we have a white-backed vulture. So no, I don't think anything's dead under there. One reason is usually when you have something that has died, you'll see quite a few more vultures. You don't have to necessarily have hundreds, but you might have 2 or 3. But the sun is setting. This vulture is not going to be flying around in the dark. He's too big, so he's just found a beautiful little roosting spot. The reason why I say white-backed has a lot to do with his coloration and where he's sitting, and also the color of the eye. If he was a Cape, he would have, I believe it's a blue ring. But before I pull another Noelle move for you guys today, let's just triple check that. Vultures are really amazing. They are birds who take care of basically the garbage that we need in the bush. They're immune to many of the diseases that come out here. So here we've got the Cape vulture. You can see that light colored eye, and then the white-backed vulture has the dark eye. There's that little bit of blue on that one here with the juvenile.
Just hold it a bit further away.
Oh, sorry. There we are. There we go, Jean-Dre. I'll be Vanna White. Here are your vultures. Jean-Dre would have seen Rupel's vulture up in the Mara when he was just up here. And then also white-backed vulture is just much more common than the Cape vulture, and that has a lot to do with the numbers plummeting. But if you look over here, we were talking a little bit about earlier about the difference between a guide and a scout and a tracker, etc. When you're starting to learn to guide, or even just now, if you're in an area you don't know or an area you do know, you use these little things on the side to figure out whether or not the bird occurs here. So if you can see Swaziland there, that's that little bump, and then just above there in the green zone, that's roughly where we're located. And so yes, it's dark green, it means it's here all year round. And then here we're just sort of the line of year round and not as common year round. Alrighty, so he'll sit up there for the evening, and then tomorrow morning, after the sun warms up the earth and the thermals start rising up, then he'll catch a thermal off and start looking for food. So the way we have old world vultures rather than new world vultures here. So old world vultures find their prey using sight, whereas new world use sense of smell. So new world you would find in South America, where there's a very broad thick canopy and they need to smell the dead carcass as opposed to see it. Ours do sight. They also watch each other. So if they're up in a thermal and they can see vultures moving in a line and getting low, they'll follow to investigate. And then those vultures a lot of the times are following things like battleur and tawny eagles, who hunt on their own but will also be the first to get to any dead kills. So they're all keeping an eye on each other. And when you get these thermals up like this, you've got the battleurs and the tawnies down below, and then you're going to get sort of the whiteback and the cape, and sometimes the lappet face in here below, but not always. Sometimes they're up here, but a lot of the times they'll be the ones that open the carcass. This is extremely interesting. All right, so we on our other side have set up another beautiful view. It's not a bird, but it is a gorgeous sunset. So we're just going to take a quiet moment. Let's say it's for Scotty D's birthday, and watch the gorgeous sunset on Djuma. Magic, absolute magic. Louise was saying in FC the other day that she loves the sunset, and I have to agree with her. So Snazzy, you asked what stops birds from traveling around the globe and staying in one country. Well, Snazzy, every bird has a different way of being. So the ones that we just saw now, they don't need to migrate. Everything they need, food, habitat, all the resources they need are here. But there are birds that will fly, say from China, from Mongolia to here. So you get the Amur falcon that travels every single year, thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometers. You get some birds that travel from sort of Central Africa, East Africa, and then travel down here to us, like a woodlands kingfisher for summer. So everything is different. So nothing stops a bird, but everything has to fit its niche, and everything has to fit the habitat and the food sources that are there without overly competing with other, say, bird species in this instance, that would make it that they can't survive either. So for instance, vultures fit a very particular niche that allows them to access a food source that not many other birds can access, and therefore they don't really need to move very far. Now the Ruppel's vulture that I mentioned earlier, we do get rare sightings of it down here. It will happen. And you also see whiteback vultures when you get up into Kenya area as well. They just happen to fit better into the ecosystem of, say, East Africa than into our ecosystem down here. So for instance, I worked up in the Marais a very long time ago, and I remember seeing much more Ruppel's vulture than, say, the Cape and whiteback that we would see here, just as a side note. All right, so we've had our beautiful vulture moment. That was a fabulous question, by the way. We've had a beautiful vulture moment. We've had our beautiful sunset moment. We are going to carry on and see if anything will poke its head out in our last little bit of time we have together. Maybe we'll get some interesting nocturnal creatures like civet. I would love to see an aardvark. I haven't seen an aardvark in a very long time, but while we're busy looking for you, let's head back over to Tristan at Chitwa Dam and see what he has for us.
I am indeed. I'm loving my time at Chitwa Dam. We've just had a beautiful herd of impala coming down now, and they hopefully are going to have a drink. So I'm going to stop here fairly shortly so that we can watch them drinking as they line up on the edge. And it's always obviously a bit of a tough time for impalas when they want to drink, because they come towards the edge of the water. They know it's a dangerous place to be because of the crocodiles that we get in here, and so they come down tentatively and they kind of move slowly towards the water to try and drink. And you see it's quick sips and then back again, quick sips and then back again. It's not like what we see from somewhere like Twin Dams or Treehouse Dam, when they tend to sit and drink for long periods, or even Galagopan. Here they tend to move down and then they drink, and they slowly kind of sip little bits of water before they decide, no, sorry, they've lost their nerve, and then they go back a little bit. So they're being as brave as they can, and you can see they're kind of pulling back as they're busy drinking. Shame, it must be so nerve-wracking for these guys to drink on the edge of this dam. I mean, the crocs here are not small, and they would easily take something like an impala, and certainly revel in being able to hunt these impalas. So I do feel for these impalas when they do come down. It's never the most pleasant experience if you are an impala to try and have to do this and to try and drink and get water from an area where you know lots of crocodiles are spending time. It's very unpleasant, I would imagine, and I feel for them. But at the end of the day, it's got to be done, and they've got to try, and the crocodile is also got to eat. So you kind of end up with a situation where everybody tries to kind of watch each other's back, and a few will then try and drink while one or two sit and watch and take in what's going on. You see, and then every now and then they lose their nerve and they'll back off thinking that maybe something is there, and when one runs, they all run, and they'll all come away from that little section. Now there is a bird that is right near where those impalas were drinking. Where that impala is coming down, Sens, if you just follow the edge and then just zoom in for me towards that point over there, come down a little bit, come down a bit, down, down, down. So down more towards us, more, come, a little bit more. There it is. Do you see? Look, it grabbed a fish. Did you see that? How cool is that? So it was a green-backed heron, and it was just on the edge, and it went in and smashed a fish. So I was hoping that we would see it hunting, and I was about to say that these guys are some of my favorite hunters, and you see it grabbed itself a little bream species. It's also in its breeding colors. You can see it's got its red on the chest with a white stripe there, so it's in its breeding coloration. It is a green-backed heron, and it's managed to catch itself a little bream, and that's a really good meal. You can see now it's going to kind of get it in its beak, and it'll eventually try and figure out how to actually sort of get it, and might even hit it against the ground and try and sort of stun that fish before it then swallows it. But that's going to be a really good meal. Well done, green-backed heron, and just in time as well to see it kind of splashing in and grabbing it. So that was super cool. I've been wanting to get one of these catching a fish on film for a long time and on the cameras, and there we go. It's kind of stunned it, and now down the gullet it goes, and that will be a proper meal. Well, you can't stop halfway. There we go, and in it goes. Well done, heron. That's very clever. That is so epic. That is so cool. So Taylor says to me, a little drink of water to wash it down. Well done. Clean the beak as well. Make sure that there's not too many little scales and things left on the beak. You see, just cleaning it, a bit of water. Do you see how far its neck stretches out as well? So this heron looks super compact, and you would think it'd be difficult to get to fish and those kind of things, but look how far that neck stretches. You see, it pushes the neck right out towards the water and can drink and stay a safe distance away so that things like crocodiles don't get to it. But there we go, look at that. And then in the background was a little pied wagtail that also ran away. So it's all happening. Now Taylor was saying this is an early birthday present because she sat hours with this green-backed heron trying to get it to catch a fish, and I think so, Taylor. I think it's definitely a little birthday gift from the birds of Chitwa themselves. That was so cool. Now the chances of seeing that are so rare. I mean, you can spend hours, as Taylor mentioned, watching these guys and you won't see them grabbing a fish. So that is just super special, and we've been spoiled to be able to see that. Oh, I'll fluff it up. I wonder if that fish is still wiggling inside there, which is a bit weird. Cheryl, you say it seems pretty big for a little bird like that. Well, that bird, funny enough, is a little bigger than you think it is. I mean, it is small, and that fish was quite big, but at the end of the day, their neck does stretch out a little bit, and their stomach will be big enough to cope with that. It'll just digest that fish, and you can see it's still on the stalk. It's still moving around, keeping its profile quite low, so that's not enough for it just yet. They're still looking for more, and if we stay on it for long enough, maybe we'll get lucky, and we'll see another little strike out at a fish. But it's definitely got its profile nice and low. When they are hunting, they do this. They get themselves kind of creep down, much like a leopard would, and then you'll see that neck just shooting out and then going after a fish. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it kind of trying to go quickly into the water again and grabbing whatever it's looking for. So while that seemed like a big meal, it still will hunt a little bit more, and it will still try and make use of the conditions. Now is the best time for it to hunt. It's kind of low light, so the fish can't see as well, and it makes it much harder for them to be able to see that bird of prey right on the edge of the water. Snazzy, you say they must have a pretty tough digestive system. Well, yes, I think all of these birds that eat fish must have really strong constitutions, because it's swallowed that thing alive, and that poor fish is going to be digested very quickly by those stomach acids and break that all down, and it'll break down the bones, the skull, everything, which is amazing. I know fish don't have the hardest of bones. Their bones tend to be a lot softer than what we see kind of in mammals, but still, to break that all down is pretty amazing. But you see how it's just positioned. Neck is cocked in, so that as soon as a fish comes anywhere near and its eyes are able to detect the movement, it can strike out using that long... There we go. Hold on. It looks like it might go again. Let's have a look. Now, you see how it's waiting, it's patient, it's creeping forward. It's obviously spotted a little bit of prey and some of the fish cruising the shallows very close to the edge of the water. So it's gotten itself nice and low, its neck is all tucked in, and it's going to try and strike out as soon as that fish comes past. So it's in prime position now to be able to go after some sort of fish. Now, how long it's going to take until it strikes out, I'm not quite sure. It's still just working out exactly what it's got to do, and it's got to calculate for diffraction and all kinds of things within the water before it then shoots that head out into the water itself. So let's just see. I wonder, no, it seems to be settling down a bit now. It's not as poised as it was a few seconds ago. Eduardo, you say, could it really swallow another one whole? Well, I think it's going to try. Maybe this is the glutton of the heron world, and maybe, just maybe, it's going to try and find itself another little fish. I would imagine it's going to go to bed shortly after that, and it will be very satisfied with itself if it does grab another one, because that will be perfect to sleep on. There we go. Did you see? Oh, it missed. But did you see how quickly it goes in? How cool is that? This is so epic. Now, I know hunting cats are always something that we try and find, and we try and look for these kind of epic moments with cats moving around, but watching this bird go after prey animals is just as exhilarating and just as exciting, and its patience and its stalking capabilities are amazing. I love watching these guys go about their work. The other thing with these little herons is that they will actually sometimes even bait their prey animals, so they'll put something like an insect on the surface and they wait for the prey to come, or I've seen them doing it with bread before as well, and as the fish come to feed off it, then it launches. Look, you see it's spotted again, keeping itself low. It's just like a leopard. There we go. It's going in. Did it get anything? I don't know. I think it... No, I don't think it got anything. No. It missed again. It was a bit hasty on that approach, but it's still skulking along, still looking absolutely amazing. Little heron, are you still hungry? You can't be that hungry. Surely not. Maybe it's been a hot day and it's processed everything and it's still got a little bit of a stomach to fill up. Now, you would wonder how big this bird is. There's a bit of elephant dung to be able to give you its sort of size kind of comparison. So that's a rather large bolus of elephant dung, but it is still gives you a nice size comparison. Now, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you want to know, would a fish eagle steal a fish from this green-backed heron or striated heron? Yes, it could potentially if the fish was large enough. Something as small as what you saw there, it's not really worth the fish eagle coming in and trying its luck. It's not going to get anywhere with that. It's not really going to be worth trying to spend the energy to swoop down, chase this bird off, grab that little fish and swallow it. So they don't really do it too much. What you will find will bully these green-backed herons is other herons. So if you've got something like a Goliath heron, a purple heron, grey heron, black heron, all of those bigger herons would chase this little heron away and try and steal the food. Now, where it's hunting now is actually a very clever thing. And the reason why is because elephant dung, often I've seen fish hanging around elephant dung, and it's not because they're feeding off it, it's just a point of structure. And structure, as we know, is a great place for fish to hide and to be able to kind of conceal themselves. And so maybe there's a few little fish. No, it's decided next spot, next bay is where it's going to go fishing. See, this little heron doesn't waste time. It's not going to worry about sitting in the same spot for hours. But you see how when it gets close to the water, like I say, it stalks just like a lion or a leopard would. Gets its profile nice and low, gets itself poised, and hopes that the fish will come in within striking range, and then it darts forward with that lightning quick reflex and goes after it. Will it attempt again? Let's see. It's amazing. Look at that. You can see how that eye is focused as well, and it's trying just to watch and work out exactly what's going on. And how it does it, I really don't know. I mean, you look, there's a ripple on that water. It's difficult to see anything, but yet this heron is spotting fish somehow. It really amazes me. I wonder if it picks up the movement of the fish just underneath the water surface and is able to differentiate ripple from what a fish movement is. It fascinates me watching these guys go about their business. Now, we may not have seen too many of the bigger animals this afternoon, but this has just been a highlight of my week for sure. Absolutely amazing. I wonder if it's going to grab another one for us. It's certainly trying. There we go, there we go. It's getting closer. Just got to wait for it to dart in to that water and grab those little fish. Now, I'm speaking in a hushed tone. I'm not really sure why, because the fish generally won't hear me, and but it's just too exciting, and I don't want to spoil it, so I don't want to make too much noise. It's so cool. Come on. Are you going to grab another one? Let's see. There we go. Did you get it? No, it missed again. Oh no. So far we've got a 25% success rate. Out of 4 attempts we've had 1 successful attempt, but that's not for lack of trying. I think it will get it right eventually. The problem is it's running out of light now, so it's going to get to a point where it's going to need to go and roost and find an area to try and spend time. But that was just so cool to watch. It's not something we're going to see every day, and maybe at this time of the day is the right time to be with these green herons and green-backed herons and to try and see if they do hunt more. It is drifting a little far for the camera now, particularly with the light that we have, but how amazing was that? I'm so excited. Now, I was saying that it's in breeding colors, so while I kind of keep an eye on it and see if it gets back closer to the water, I want to show you what I'm talking about when I refer to breeding colors. Herons are at the front of the book, not at the back. I don't know why I was paging so far. Where are you? Green-backed, you should be here. No, not that page. Sorry guys, I'll get to it eventually. Where have you gone, green-backed heron? It's still just kind of drifting on the edge of the bank there. So I'm just trying to find exactly where it is in my book. Why can't I find it? White-backed night heron, dwarf bittern. Ah, there it is, green-backed herons. Now, this particular one doesn't show the breeding coloration as much as what maybe my app might show, but I'll explain to you what I mean anyway. Now, you see that this is the adult bird, which is pretty much what we're watching. He's got that sort of black top to it, that little green back that gives it its name, and I was saying that it's got this rusty red and white stripe on the legs. Now you notice that it's got a bit of yellow on the beak area, or the cere kind of area if you were thinking of a bird of prey, and yellow legs. Now if you looked at that bird that we just saw now, its legs were more an orange color, and what happens when they're in breeding is this section here goes orange, and so does this on their legs, and they become a lot more kind of colorful with that. Also, this becomes much deeper coloration that we see on the chest and on the back area, and that's how you can kind of tell when they're in the breeding coloration, which is very cool. So this one is in that stage, and it's about the right time of year for all of these things to happen. So I'm going to leave our green-backed heron because I see it's just kind of flown off onto the other side. It's a little far and out of our reach. I'm not going to go around to the Jacana. It's going to be a bit dark for that. So I think we're going to leave Chitwa Dam. It's been an absolute wonderful afternoon just spending time at Chitwa, and it goes to show if you're patient in the wild and you sit for long periods of time, anything can happen. And so while we meander back to Djuma and see what else we can find, let's go back to Noelle and see what she's managed to get up to over the last little bit, and hopefully there's lots of little things lurking for her to find.
Welcome back, everybody. We have some beautiful male waterbuck. We had those waterbuck tracks earlier from that female, And here we've got a group of satellite males. So a male will take anywhere from about 7 to 9 years to establish a territory. And so until they're old enough, basically what happens is they form these little bachelor groups and they work on the outside of a male's territory. And as long as they don't do anything overtly dominant, they're allowed to stay there. Now eventually, I don't know if you can see the one in the middle there, looks older than the other two from my guesstimation. He will shortly probably take over whatever territory he's busy on the periphery with. For some reason, I just really love waterbucks. They're fuzzies. They remind me of donkeys for some reason. Donkeys with antelope horns on them. Absolutely beautiful. And very relaxed with us especially, but also relaxed in the space that they're in at the moment. Look, I've been sitting with antelope species like this before, and a lion or a leopard has jumped out and killed them, but in general they do have an idea, and there is a faint breeze going on every now and then. So I think they're just happily working their way through their feeding habits. They're not going to sleep tonight. They will keep feeding throughout the night. Something that's very useful to know about waterbuck is if you're ever lost in the bush and you find waterbuck, it means you're within at least 2 kilometers of water. They don't really go farther than that, and the drier it is, the closer they'll be to water. So if you follow the pathways, and we're teaching you all about tracking, they'll meander down and it can help you find water. Joy, yes, the waterbuck are extremely beautiful, especially the males and the full-grown males when they've got the big, beautiful horns. The one in the middle that we showed earlier has a nice set, but there's some males that have an even bigger set. And there's just something about them, especially when they stand with their bum, with their little white circle, and then they turn their head over the shoulder. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's carry on down towards Chelapan and see what we can find there. Maybe the hyenas that Tristan found the other day. Thank you, Waterbuck. You were beautiful as always. This is my favorite time of evening. So after the sun sets, you have about 20 minutes of usable light for walking or without using a torch. But the stillness, the quietness, and the pastel colors that come out right now, it's very calming. It's very lovely. All right. We are going to send you back up to Taylor. Shame, Taylor, I'm so sorry about that rain. Head back up there and let her tell you about what's happening in Kenya. Must enjoy.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic. It is not going to stop. I think we might even have rain in the morning. How exciting is that? Now, Tristan, I believe you are being nasty to me. Well, I suppose you have grace because it's your birthday tomorrow, so I can't even say anything. That is the rule in our household. You get 24 hours the day before, 24 hours after on your birthday, and nobody's allowed to say a bad thing. So, as much as it kills me, I'm going to only be able to say nice things about Tristan today, tomorrow, and the next day. And I bet he's jumping for joy for that. So Tristan, it's so good, and I really hope you enjoy your 40th birthday tomorrow. Just joking, Tristan's not turning 40. Tristan, how old are you even turning? I don't even know how old Tristan is turning. 30 something. He's in his early 30s. Shall we try and age Tristan? Tristan is turning, how old do you think, Jar? I was going to say 31, Megan. You didn't give me a chance. Megan gave me the answer before I even got a chance to guess. And I was looking at him. I was going to say, try and work out his identifying features, how many grey hairs he's got in his beard or in his hair, you know, all these different types of things. Does he have tatty ears? You know, just joking. Of course, this is how we identify animals, not by how many grey hairs they have in their beard, because that doesn't matter at all. Now, we are on a treacherous road at the moment, on the escarpment. Oh, Tristan's now having a go at me because he says that I didn't wear a party hat. Now, I have to tell you that Tristan actually set me up. He purposely didn't tell me that we were supposed to wear party hats this afternoon, and now I look bad. How terrible is that? But because it's his birthday tomorrow, he thinks that he can just get away with things like this, which is ridiculous. I think it's outrageous. I'm flabbergasted by his behavior. Megan, you have to tell him that I'm flabbergasted. Little joke there. But yes, but Tristan, I hope you have the best birthday ever tomorrow. And Scott, you're back at camp already, maybe making pizzas in the pouring rain. I don't know how that's going to work, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. I suppose Scott, he always makes plans, so I hope he's having the best birthday ever. I'm sure he is. It's always fun when you're with your family, and I suppose we count as family, don't we? But we're going to try and drive now, because I really, really want to get home before this rain gets any harder, because it's a nightmare already. I've had to drive like this because I've got no windscreen wipers. I'm creeping along in low range like this. I feel like I'm Brent now. Doesn't Brent drive like this? Also, he can't defend himself. Okay, I'm actually scared. I need to concentrate over here going around the bend and keep both eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. Tristan is also just driving around, but I think he's having it a lot easier than I am.
Well, I don't know, Taylor. I'm driving around in a hat that isn't made to be worn, that keeps flying off my head. And I feel like these excuses that are being made are just excuses. Between Taylor and possibly Louise, somebody's going to be in trouble, because either one didn't tell the other one, or Taylor just didn't want to participate. And so it's meant that I've had to wear 3 different head outfits this afternoon. So I've had to wear mine, Taylor's, and Scotty's to make up for it, and so now I've got all 3 on, and I suppose Noel's too. What else can I add? I've got 1 cap, 2, 3 and 4, so I've got for all 3 of the other presenters and myself, so I've covered you all, guys. And hopefully tomorrow you guys can make fun of yourselves and not just me, because I've been left on my own today to have a good giggle and at least laugh, and hopefully it's been at least entertaining. I quite like my headdress. I think it's a fair party hat, and I would imagine if I went to a party in this, lots of people would be quite entertained by it and ask lots of questions, which would be perfect for a party mood. It would be very festive if I went somewhere with my hat. What do you think, Sens? Yeah, Senzo agrees. Senzo says I'll be the life of the party, and I believe Ali, who's in FC tonight, is rolling her eyes at me saying whatever. Hopefully no couch time for me. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I can't be put on the couch if that's the case. Or could I? Hopefully not. That will be a horrible way to spend my birthdays, on the couch. Let's not tempt fate. If Ali's in FC, I'm not going to tempt fate at all, because no doubt she will follow through if I say the wrong thing and get myself into trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Ali doesn't actually put me on the couch at all. She's very tolerant of my nonsense, and make no mistake that I am a handful to deal with at the best of time. So she does a lot of good things and keeps me in line, that's for sure, and she doesn't ever put me on the couch. This is all just a joke. Of course, she makes sure that I'm well looked after most of the time. Right. Now that turned out because I was hoping by some miracle all of these leopards that decided to have a party on Little Gowrie today would have come this way, because not one of them has been found this afternoon from this morning. So 4 different leopards, not one has been found. Oop, we have a malfunction of the party wear, and so I was hoping that I might just get a little bit of luck and one would be drinking at the dam, but alas, no sign, unfortunately. Oh no, it's fallen over. What's going on, Pat? You've got to balance. I'm going to have to try and push it down. There we go. That's better. It should hopefully hold like that, and should hopefully be a lot better. What a beautiful evening, though. It's got no clouds in the sky. It's absolutely the perfect temperature. I think it's probably one of the nicest evenings we've had in quite some time. It really is beautiful weather. There we go, 84 and 29, not a cloud in the sky, balmy evening, absolutely perfect. So what a wonderful way to kind of finish off our day, and to drive in this is always very pleasant. Hopefully some of the animals will pop out, and maybe we'll just get a last minute leopard. I know we've had a leopard from Djuma today, but I feel like a last minute leopard of my own, and so I'm going to hope for that. And while we do that, let's go across to Noelle and see maybe she'll pull out a last minute leopard of her own, or that aardvark that she was talking about.
Hello, sadly no aardvark, leopard. Tristan, I hope you find your last minute leopard. I don't know what's going on with me today. And then Nyali, you were wondering, it's been my most exciting game drive ever. And I'm sitting here pondering, so game drive with Gendre was excellent, and my first game drive with you guys, super exciting. But if we had to take this one out of it, I would actually say it was a walk, and the reason why I think of this just now is I actually had to write a short little blurb about it today. I was working in Northwest Province in South Africa. We are provinces similar to states, and I had guests that were there on an educational, one of the lodges I used to freelance at, and they desperately wanted to see lions. So we go out, it's in the morning, it's a little bit chilly, a little bit cold, so we're heading out, and one of the vehicles that headed out just before us got these 3 young male lions who were some of my favorite male lions to view. And after getting there, they went into a non-off-roading area, so we can't take the vehicle in. So all the other vehicles left, and we let them leave, and then we stopped the vehicle, we got off, and we started tracking these lions on foot. And as we're busy tracking these lions on foot, I can hear another male roaring. So we stop and we listen, but he's about 2 kilometers away. It was the father of these 3 males. And as his roar dies down, we just start to see these 3 young males. We creep up a little bit closer, probably about 60 meters from them, and we had the sun behind us and the wind was blowing our scent away. So they're not going to turn around and stare into the sun, and also their father's calling from the opposite side, so they're going to focus on there. And as we get into perfect position, optimal weather, they start roaring. And when a lion roars, when you're on foot and you're about 60 meters, and it's not just 1 lion, it's 3 lions roaring all together, your whole body shakes. And we managed to sit there for about 20 minutes before I decided, look, we've had a really good view, we must carry on. And I have to say that was one of the most exciting experiences that I can think of right at this moment to have on a game viewing activity, and specifically on foot. It was really, really, really something special. Great question, thank you. Okay, last little bits of color showing to the west. Talked about our pastel skies earlier. All right, we're gonna head back over to Tristan. I'm hoping he found his last minute leopard, and I hope it's a real leopard and not a leopard branch. Tristan, enjoy, good luck.
Unfortunately, no last minute leopards, many leopard logs that we've seen, but maybe, you never know, maybe something will pop out in front of us in this area. Now Phil, you want to know what my favorite birthday meal is in the bush? I'm not really sure, but I'm a huge fan of a good steak, so a couple steaks on a fire with a whole bunch of friends under the stars of the bush. Well, I don't think much can really beat that. 1 or 2 apple juices, of course, just to make sure that no one gets dehydrated. You wouldn't want a situation where anybody gets dehydrated while trying to slave over a hot fire. So that's kind of the plan. Now, we don't have too much time because it's almost the end of the show, but I need to get through this little dip because it's not going to have the best signal. So hopefully we can just get on top of this side. But it has been a wonderful afternoon filled with all kinds of interesting things. It's great to have Noelle on board, but into the team, and she started off with an absolute bang. And for Jandre as well. I spoke to Jandre briefly before he went out and drive and said he had missed the leopard. So super happy for both of them that they got to catch up with the Mvula. It's such a special thing to see, and I'm really glad. Now it's also from Scotty, who's had some car issues, Taylor, myself, Noelle, Megs and FC, and all the cam ops. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari.